Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good, Frank. Good to see you.
Yeah, good here.
How are you, my friend?
I am doing fabulous.
You have a good week?
Always.
Hell yeah. What are we jumping into this week on Perspective Shift?
We like to feature Sadhguru.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Sadhguru. Yeah, I was looking up some stuff yesterday, and the word Sadhguru, because obviously that's the name he was given, Sadhguru means uneducated guru.
That describes him perfectly too, because of like what he talks
I
about.
can relate to that.
I like his style.
Yeah,
You know, he's very loose. He's very funny.
he's very pragmatic.
Yeah.
Like because I've heard people comment on him and said he's all over the place or he contradicts everything he says. But when you really listen to him, what he's doing, like if you're in survival mode, he tells you how to function in that mode. If you go beyond into creative mode, he tells you how to function in that mode. So it's like he's helping you out how to behave or do better in whatever mode you're in. So he's not trying to tell you have to get up here in order to experience life great. So he's pretty much like, do whatever the hell you want. But if you feel guilty about it, there becomes the problem. So he has that type of attitude. That's what I love about it. He's not really telling you what you should or should not do. Just recognize where you are.
I think that's a big part of this whole thing of consciousness in general is there is no right or wrong way. There is no this or that.
Yeah.
And it is, like you say this all the time, Frank, it's this and that.
Correct, yeah.
And even quantum physics has proven that everything is true and false. You know?
Yeah, the falseness is when you're trying to compare it to which is better.
But it's just so funny because, like, to say, like, Sadhguru, he contradicts himself, it's funny. Like, I actually heard a teacher I love, his name's Muji. I heard him talking about this one time, and somebody got up in front of him and said, hey, well, what's your thoughts on this, you know? And he goes, Sadhguru says this, but he also contradicts himself and says this. And Muji starts laughing, and he goes, when you're awakened, you can say whatever the hell you want. And I just thought that was great because it's true. Good. When you're talking about these different concepts, it's very much so depends on the level you are at.
It's not one size fits all.
Well, it's where are you at on this journey? You know, where are you within these dimensions?
And someone like him, Sadhguru, he's been in front of audiences for many, many years. So people will get snippets, and they'll think that's the truth he's talking about. And one way, it's like if you're misunderstanding. If someone's talking about a view of a valley and they're on a mountain, but you're at the ocean, you can't experience what they're talking about, but you think everyone's at the ocean, so therefore you're seeing discrepancy in the understanding. It's like, no. You have to be where he's at to understand. But he also has the ability to come down to understand where you are. But we are here we're here in the second level of listening to him because it's already recorded. Like if the person was probably at the live event, it'd be different. So we have to take these, well, we don't have to, but if you take it into consideration and open up your broad perspective, you'll know where he's coming from. But it's not always meant for just you, because he wasn't talking specifically to you. But it also raised the question, why am I trying to knock somebody that's helping me?
Yeah.
And I find that interesting. Just if I don't understand something, I can't deem it to be wrong. I can only say, please give me more or help me understand it. But people tend to want to criticize, which defeats the purpose and why they're listening in the first place.
It's funny. You just said something that I've started to do a lot with myself recently. And I'm working on becoming more in tune with my spiritual side. And not just like my spiritual side, I guess like to the energies and this vast world around me.
Well, let's define what you and I look at spiritual. Because we pretty much it. Spiritual is the frequency energy running through our bodies. It is the electromagnetic field or the electricity running through our body. So when we become in tune with that, which is the representation of how we feel, we tend to conduct life on this level or levels better. So
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it. I believe that's how you look at it as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly how I look at spirituality. I guess like what I was referring to is I believe that everybody out there is clairvoyant. I believe that every single one of us was born with the ability to they could tap into thoughts. I believe that we all have this capability, and it's been conditioning over and over, layers and layers since birth, that has been, oh, that's, nonsense. No, that's your dreams don't mean anything. And we pretend like the things that happen to us don't all ultimately add up to anything, and that's just foolishness.
Well, we're just starting to tap into that, because now science is actually offering up a different perspective into all that.
Absolutely,
there's showing validity to it. But
so going back to what I was saying, though, like I'm tapping into my higher self, if you will, and I'm asking for that. Yeah. And I'm making like that statement. I'll say to my higher self, I'm becoming more in tune with my body, my surroundings. Yeah. I am more in tune. Things like that. Essentially, I'm calling on my higher guides, my higher self, to help me navigate this 3-dimensional world, or this 5th-dimensional experience. Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. So basically what we're talking about when we do this is how do we become more efficient? Yeah. So the better off we utilize the technology in which we are, the more efficient it becomes, because efficiency is a natural byproduct of who we are. But there's also, if we don't know something, we won't be as efficient. But there's something in us that knows this should be easier. And we're here right now. Like, we are the most comfortable human civilization known to man right now.
Yet we're still not happy.
No, people on again.
We have air conditioning. We got vehicles. We got food. No matter what.
Yeah, we got like beds that cost $5,000 and they go up and down. Right. Not that long ago they were sleeping on hay.
We have a little box that controls all the lights and everything in our house. Yeah. Alexa.
Exactly.
Alexa.
Yeah, be careful. She's out there.
Yeah, of course she is.
Might say something.
It's everywhere now. Yeah. And so, like, we have all this ease. Well, why isn't our quality of life improved? Why are we not happy?
Because we're looking for the outside world.
That's it.
And this is why we like to feature Sadhguru today, because he gets into that. I like the way he approaches it. He's funny, but right to the point. He doesn't take any nonsense.
Let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear his first.
Let's kick off the first clip.
Keeping your mind life-friendly is definitely your business. Your mind should be friendly to this life, isn't it so? Should work for this life. After all, your mind is your employee. Yes or no? Why have you made him your enemy? If you do not know how to handle the people who work for you, they will turn into your enemies. Don't have any misunderstanding about this. Don't have any doubt about this. It happens, isn't it so? If you don't handle your own children properly, they will turn into your enemies. No? You have any doubt? No, not my son. He won't do that. Don't have any doubt, he'll do that. If you don't handle him right, he will turn into your enemy. Yes or no? Yes or no? That's the way life is. Now, why is it your mind, such a powerful, beautiful, miraculous thing, has turned into your enemy? This is something we have to look at, whether you have an ailment or you're on the way. Whichever way, it's time you look at it, isn't it so?
I love the way he puts that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things when I heard the first word, your mind, is your employee.
Yeah.
That was one of the best analogies I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Because we are that observer, right? We're the observer to the situation. We can see ourselves playing out. We're observing the thoughts as they're playing out. And we're experiencing what it feels like to have that situation played out.
Yeah.
And so what Sadhguru is saying here when he talks about this is he's saying, hey, you're looking at your mind from the perspective that it's something other than you, that it's separate from you, something that you don't have control over. And you're letting that employee get out of control. And when you break it down to as simple as something like that the mind is the employee, the body is the employee, it gives you a new perspective, a new way to look at this interactive experience where you do now take control.
Yeah. And that's just it. When he talks about the mind, the intellect, and where we look at the mind, the intellect is inseparable. The intellect is something that we've studied and recorded. Essentially it's past. So if I'm heading off to learn something new, I have no intellectual understanding of it. I have insight. I can maybe have insight or curiosity about it. But once you allow the intellect to run the mind, it takes over. So now you got the employees running the shop, and it's not going to go well. So once we go in and get to the place where we're controlling it and actually making an employee, making our friend, we're actually heading into the unknown without knowing what's going to happen, but yet generating a feeling that's going to allow me to move in, and then a knowing becomes. But if I know everything, I'm closed to anything new. And I don't know everything. I know very little, which keeps me open to knowing more. And that's kind of how he was talking about the mind. The intellect, for intellects, is where the problem is. So going back to the comment we made before, that we're the most comfortable civilization known to man. We have more information, all these things accessible to us, but we're unhappy. Why? Because our intellect has grown so great that it's the torture device now.
Well, we spent this like weird amount of time becoming only a left brain society.
Yeah, memorizing.
So like the left brain is what, facts, reasoning, logic, all that type of stuff. And we solely live through that channel or that experience, like, can I do the math on this? There's that saying in physics, does the math work or whatever it is.
That's why I have a calculator.
But it's we live in such a left brain society, and it's out of balance. Yeah. And this out of balance resonates with the feelings that we all share, like as a collective consciousness as well.
Yeah, what I've heard him say before, and not on this one, but he says, look at his intellect as a sharp tool. If you grab it by the wrong side, you're going to cut yourself and you'll do self-harm. But if you know how to use a knife, it could be great. But we're not knowing how to use our intellect. And
I love that.
Yeah, and how do we use our intellect? If you don't use it with what we consider the emotional side or the right side of the brain equally, again, if you're just all right side, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You're trying to cut steak with a butter knife, that's not going to help either. You want your knife to be sharp, but you also want to know how to utilize it. Again, if I grab a knife by its blade, it does me damage. So it's the balance between the right and the left in this situation. We're talking about the intellect. So when you use our heart and our mind together, that actually produces an amazing thing. So that tool, that sharp intellect, is useful. But if I don't use my heart, it starts to cut me, and I wonder why I'm bleeding. And I know he says that a lot, and I find that really interesting the way you look into it.
I think that's powerful.
It is powerful, yeah.
Because that's what Frank and I are talking about. Knowing how to utilize this tool or this experience, this consciousness. Yes, you do need the left brain. Yes, you do need your ego. We're not saying get rid of the ego because it's part of this experience. But as soon as you're able to become aware of what these the functions of the ego, of the left brain, of all of these moving pieces, you become more whole. And in that wholeness, you begin to feel more whole. To make whole, you must be whole. And so that's where it starts, is with you. Yeah. Within.
And I'm sure every great butcher cut themselves, but not enough to where they quit being a butcher. Then they get to a point where they seldom cut themselves, so they know how to use the implementation, the sharp tool they're using. And intellect is very sharp. It's not to throw in the back of the drawer and never to use again, but it's how we use it, understanding what it's there for. And that's a life's journey. So the more intellectual I become, then I have to soften up. Because in the beginning, I told Mike this, as a child, I wasn't known to be intellectually smart in the aspect of the measurement of school. So there was a point in my life I'm like, well, the hell with that shit. I don't like the feeling of this, because I had a strong ego as well. So I started reading a lot and gaining information that maybe the average person wouldn't know. And then I would just spew it out in the middle of anywhere. I would just let people know I know a lot. Well, that was using my instrument to cut myself. That was ridiculous. So
compensating type of thing.
Yeah, I was trying to
I see what you're
compensate.
saying.
I grabbing the blade. So I'm using it to, like, now I look like an idiot. I even feel like an idiot doing that. And all of a sudden you realize, okay, now I understand. And how do I use my intellect? Now it's not about, okay, now go back to being dumb again. I can't. Well, maybe.
Right.
You really can't say it. Like, maybe I am dumb. I don't know.
No, this is like a perfect example.
Yeah.
What you're talking about right here.
Yeah.
Which is saying, all right, I think I need to do it this way. I'm
No,
using it.
yeah.
The intellect kind of twists you into a pretzel sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're in your head so much.
Now, what I consider to be intellect for me is curiosity into knowing something. But I also start out like, I'm not going to know its whole entirety. But going into something and knowing it is the driving force of the excitement into the unknown. And that's when things happen. So when I'm walking around, I'm more joyful about what I'm doing. I'm not saying, am I doing the right thing? I'm not doing the right thing. But when I'm joyful, I notice that the world around me yields. I'm nicer to people. Things come my way easier. And if that happens, I give it away easier. But it's the relationship I have with my intellect. Where before I was trying to use it as a sharp tool and I was only cutting myself. Now I'm using it in a more efficient way, So I'm still building upon it, but I don't think it's as sharp as it ever could be. So I walk around with a nice sharpening stone.
There you
And
go.
I always lose the damn thing. I was like, where'd that stone go?
What were we talking about right before we went on air? I can't remember. It was about we were essentially sharing like I'm blanking on this.
With synchronicity type
Well,
stuff?
no, not the synchronicity stuff. You and I were kind of talking about like how, what was it? When we were out there, it was about. Sorry, I'm blanking.
That's okay. It's the intellect. It's sharp tool.
lack thereof. Yeah, it's not going to come to me.
It'll come to you at some time.
Yeah.
That's the synchronicity of this whole thing here.
It's killing me.
It's killing
because it's like right there. But anyways, what I was getting at was Frank and I were talking about a few things before this. Before we jump on air, we'll kind of chat about some things. Okay, hey, what direction would we like to go today? What and we share our personal experiences. And so when we're sharing these personal experiences and we're talking to each other about it, it's you can feel the connection to what is being said. So when you guys are watching a video like this, or when you guys are listening to this conversation, relate to it how it's going to best impact you there at home. So to take what Sadhguru is saying, take what Frank's saying, take what I'm saying, and apply this to your own personal situation, kind of just like what Frank did when he was sharing a moment ago. When you do this, you are now personalizing it. And so now it resonates on a higher level with you. Now it's no longer third person, it's personal. And so you can work with it more. And when you begin to work with this more is when you know how to manipulate the energy, use the tool, whatever you want to call it. But all of these concepts you can personally relate to and find something that will allow you to connect with them. So don't try to hear a concept and perceive it from the third person and say, okay, that's what I think this is meaning. No, draw it in and really resonate with it. Allow your start to challenge the question, ask yourself about it, sit with it. These are how you really begin the growth.
Yeah, and that's just it. Enact it, because I think what Mike, if not mistaken, what you're trying to get at from what we were speaking about earlier, was the different levels of understanding all this information. So if I'm in a building and I'm on the 10th story, and I've used analogy like this before, and I'm looking out the window and I'm explaining what I'm looking at because that's the viewpoint in which I'm at. But if I'm aware that somebody's in the basement of the same building, I know they don't have a window, I don't enact that description. Because I could be aware. I'm like, okay, I've been in the basement. I could then envision what they can see. So when I remember Sadhguru was talking to a university, and most of the kids were like, I think they were engineer students, And he was talking to them, and after one of the administrators had asked him a question, and he says like, and he talked about what we just talked about, how the intellect can damage us if we use it poorly, which a lot of us do. I still do. And so she's like, well, how do I go up to someone on the street that's starving and tell him it's your intellect that's making you on the street and starving? And he laughs. He goes,
Thank you,
no.
Frank.
Yeah, he goes,
Thank you.
No, don't. Just give them a sandwich and tell them they're loved or whatever. But you don't go there. He goes, I'm in front of you intellects at a university. So this is the viewpoint in which we can come on the fence. But yeah, when you go up to somebody on the street, you don't say, it's your intellect getting your way while in the street. Compassion, always. Because I have to be aware. I've done this before. I thought this person was at this point, a tipping point, and I offered up information, but I didn't have compassion with it, and they didn't know what I was talking about, and then I made them feel inadequate. And I'm like, no, there is no higher level that I know of. Like, this level's way beyond I know of, and I know this level, but the one thing I have to know is not everyone's at this level, and this level isn't better. It's just different. All right. The 10th story of a building view isn't better than the basement. It's just different. It may be greater in the mathematical understanding of 10 and, sub-basement. But we have to be kind. So understand what situation you're in, when to use the intellect, when to use your compassion. And this is what this man teaches, Sadhguru, is when to use it and when not to use it. I'm still working on that. Karen can contest that.
No, this is it, and I love that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
that's it. Which is, there's multiple levels of this,
yeah.
And so when you're trying to talk about these concepts or dive into these concepts with somebody who is in that basement ground level,
yeah,
or that very third dimensional level, how you share concepts with them is very different than somebody who, let's say, is on that fifth dimensional or fifth floor, whatever you want to call it. You can exchange terminology. You can, the situation, what you say is far different to somebody who has leveled up, if you will.
Or understand,
understanding, whatever, awareness, whatever you want to call it. So when we listen to a Sadhguru, or we listen to the, Frank and I talk, or anybody, you got to hear it from the point that we're speaking it from, as well as we always try to capture it from a number of ways, because we understand that certain concepts, they can be difficult to digest. Because it's like we've got this serious mental conditioning behind it saying, this ought to be this way, this ought to be this way, this is how I was taught my entire life. And this is why, there's like conditioning of religion, there's all sorts of conditioning, man, women, like whatever you want to call it, family, structure, all of these different things. And so when you can break away from this conditioning, or see all of these walls that you have put up that you're calling yourself or your life, that allows you to kind of take the stairs to the next level. Yeah,
because if you actually have experience now and try to solidify it into this is how it is, this is where the world gets really dark and evil, because nothing else outside can come about. So you're trying to replicate every day to be the same way. And this is what's happening. Because we understand classic physics and Newtonian physics so well, we can create a predictable life. And that's what we're doing. But it becomes miserable because we don't want predictability.
Well, by definition, I believe it was Albert Einstein who helped with it, but the definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Exactly, yeah. So, and the thing is, because human beings innately are in this universe, and this has nothing to do with this is a phenomenon. Just like when I eat food, the phenomenon is my body breaks it apart. I don't have to consciously think about it, it just does it. The phenomenon that the universe brings is expansion. We have nothing to do with expansion. What we do is how we perceive it. Do we move in the direction in which we prefer, or we move against it, and we move against the expansion of what's happening around us? We feel the pain. When we move with it, we feel the glory. So sometimes there's a little tug on us, expansion, that gets us to wake up and move. Sometimes it takes pain to get us to move. But when we get really good at this, just like a surfer can feel the water move below him to know when to stop paddling to catch that wave. But when I first started learning surfing, the board would smack me up in the face because I was pointing the wrong direction, fell down. Yeah, it was quite painful. But getting that one ride and doing it was worth it. It's still very painful for me. I'm not, I live in Arizona, for the love of God. It's not like something I do every day, but it is. It's like we're surfing with the energy of the world, and the energy of the world is continuously expanding, and it keeps coming at us. When we become more open to it, we feel good. But I myself have to become open to it. I can't expect other people to be open to it. I can't. Because they are on their journey. Because when I wasn't open to the new concepts that I'm learning about now and exercising now, if someone tried to force me into doing it, I would have shut down. So I grant everyone that ability. And me and Mike, we both own businesses. We both run teams. And I was telling him, I had a meeting today, and I'm bringing up this concept. I'm there were two people that looked at me, and the rest were deer in headlights. I'm okay.
Yeah, right.
This is where my intellect was harming me. I'm to expect everyone, if everyone would just think like me, this would be, we wouldn't have to have a meeting. But there we go. That's my intellect cutting me up. And that's not what it's about. It really isn't. How do I know? They probably think higher than I do. I'm just the one in the room speaking because I'm the owner of the company. Yeah.
You own it.
Yeah. So, again, I had to check myself. I'm wow, okay, stop. Go down to what their needs are, because my thing is well, if you learn to meditate and get over this, it needs to be different. They're no, we just want a sandwich. She's love of God. Give me a sandwich.
The same shit.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean because I've had people, tell me that so Frank and I, we're big believers that everything as it kind of shakes out, that's the details of things. When you can rest in this very, calm, collected space, how you navigate life then begins to work out. So whenever I'm coaching or I'm working with a new agent or whatnot, I'm not talking about your business card. I'm not talking about your website. I'm not talking about, how you show up. And I'm talking about how do you think? How do you start your day? Where is your head? Where is your heart? Where are you at on a personal level?
Yeah.
And I'll see some agents sometimes that I'm talking to.
I just what button do I click, Mike? That's all I need.
Yeah, hey, Mike, I'm just trying to figure out how to get a business card.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm guys, don't worry about that stuff.
The universe will bring you a business card.
But it's true. When you are at the level that you are at, you are going to experience things a certain way. Yeah. And like Frank said, there's no such thing as a better level. There's not.
It's greater and less than.
But when you're in the details, you're only going to be looking for the details.
Yeah.
When you rise above the details just work themselves out. And that's what Frank and I are talking about. Why are we getting down in the mud trying to make things? Why are we trying to make matter on matter work? Why aren't we starting from within and allowing ourselves to just generate that work and the experience that we're looking to have? But in order to navigate this world, we got to know how to do it all, and that's what Sadhguru is saying. He's treat the mind like an employee.
Yeah, and sit with it.
Speak to him like
Yeah, and that's why I remind myself because what I've learned really well, and I've done this with my employees, and I also do it with my son. I remember when I was young, when he was young, opening the door and say, "Hey, clean your room," and you get this look on his face, I got better things to do. 20 minutes later, "Hey, clean your room." But what I've learned is I would come in, and I'm like, "Hey, I'll help you clean your room," and it wasn't to teach him to have a clean room. It was actually engaging with him. At the same time, it satisfied me because by the end of the engagement, his room was clean. Now, he may not oh, I know what my dad's talking about, this clear room. When you're 15 years old, you don't care about a clean room. You really don't. And even if he never gets to that point, but I'm taking a task, like you're talking about, a 3D task, and it was my opportunity to engage with my son at a level, even though we call it 3D, was the highest level you can. It's called connection. But where I always made a mistake was, you want to connect with me? Come up to my space. And I'm no, go to where they are. That's the greatest connection. You see a man on the street, you go to them. They don't,
Like the sandwich. That's what Sadhguru's
Yeah,
saying.
that's it.
Don't
Go
go
to
over there
them.
and tell the homeless person that they are looking at life wrong and that they need to
Yeah.
use their
Yeah.
you
I
know,
wouldn't want somebody to
awareness.
tell me
Like
I'm
that is
yeah.
so low. It's like
Well,
you go bring them food. Like there's stepping stones to all this, and life's a journey. And when we
But-
realize that, it's
Yeah.
we can give and be a part
Yeah.
of that.
Pull up a milk crate and talk to a guy and
Yeah.
says, look at that
Treat
guy.
him like a human or her like a human.
Because they are. And the thing about this, we don't know. The guy sitting on the corner sitting on the milk crate could be looking at a car driving by and seeing people trapped in a metal thing and say, man, I feel sorry for these people.
Going to work
All
every
day, every day. Zoom, 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 getting nowhere.
Yep.
We don't know how people perceive it. We don't know. I have no idea. You know, if someone comes up to me and lays out their perception onto something, I can see it's agonizing. I do my best to try to calm them down and turn around. But I don't know if that guy sitting on the thing is not in a glorious place. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here in America, we have an idea what happiness looks like.
Yeah, well, that's just the conditioning.
And if you have the look of happiness but you don't feel it, there's always a pill.
That's American.
There's always a shot.
There's nothing more American than
Yeah,
that.
come on, let's get the pill.
Yep.
Yeah, see,
Take
and
a
then-
pill. Don't stop doing anything you're doing. Just
Yeah,
take the pill.
Take the pill. And basically, like Sadhguru talks about, it implies, he goes, it's your inner self you have to take care of. And I believe the next clip we're going to talk about, he gets more to detail better than I will.
Let's jump into it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So, you need to get this straightened out. If your mind is working against you, first and foremost thing that you do is take a break from every damn thing that you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Understand? Your work, your family, your nonsense, take a break from everything. Go to an appropriate place. If you want, you can come here or go to India, go somewhere else, wherever it works for you. Do something about this one. Fix this one before you enter the world, isn't it? So, sit down in one place, see what you can do about this one. Because once you live in this world, either you must do something good to yourself or you must do something good to 10 people around you. Either you must be keeping yourself truly joyful and living, you don't care about anybody, it doesn't matter, at least you're happy, we're okay. Or you're doing something nice for somebody around you, you're okay. Anybody who is not doing any good to himself or to anybody around him has really no right to call himself human, isn't it? That much intelligence and awareness nature has put into you, isn't it so? Yes? Maybe you can't do some great act in the world, it doesn't matter. At least walk gently upon this planet, that much you can do, right? Yes?
It's brilliant the way he said that.
I love that.
Yeah. And it is. If we don't take care of ourselves, even as intellectual and spiritual as you may think, the disturbance is going to be you in the outside world.
Well, and as you dive deeper and deeper into these concepts, guys, there is nothing else outside.
No, it's concepts.
It
It's a
is
concept.
you. This entire screen that we're playing on this stage, this is all you.
Yeah, if you talk to a lot of quantum physicists, they'll actually tell you we're in a hologram.
Yes.
So this holographic experience we're having is pixels and vibration frequency, which creates the understanding of the dimension of the 3-dimension, one of different dimensions within the space.
Yep.
All right, and then there's an added one of time. It just measures experiences from
Time and space give us this
without,
what we're experiencing.
without time, everything would happen at once. So and then with dimension, it gives us different ways, angles to look at things, different perspectives. But it's just frequencies moving at different rates. Again, don't take the scientific studies from me and Mike. Go look this up, all right? So me and Mike are just giving our perspective on Sadhguru and all this other stuff. And we encourage people to look at it because the vantage point in which you'll use it will be different than the way I do and different the way the Mike and different the way the Sadhguru does it. But we see the correlation of everything, and that's what we hear talk about perspective shift. There is a deep correlation, and we stay open to look at things. Yes, we instinctively know when something isn't working. Don't try to this isn't working. Oh, let me look at my perspective. I'm like, you know it's not working.
No.
Yeah, you don't need to.
No, it's not working.
Yeah, if you're facing west expecting the sun to rise, just turn, look east, see what happens, you know? So your perspective is just about shifting, looking in a different direction. It doesn't mean you say, oh, I'm going to wait till the sun comes up in the west. I'm like, yeah, you'll be waiting a very long time. So, yeah.
I think one big takeaway, too, from Sadhguru and just everything that, we've seen from him today is, each moment is very temporary, and this too shall pass. And so to think that you're stuck in one level or stuck in one part of your life, even though at that moment it may feel very real and very strenuous or whatever it may feel, that feeling does not last forever. And I feel like a lot of us really get kind of caught in our feelings and our emotions in this present moment, not thinking about just 5 minutes later what could happen. Because I'm telling you, every time our heart beats, we are a new person.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, like, in every second is a chance of new creation, of new beginning, of new levels, of new experience. And once we tune into that and we surrender, then the show starts to really start rolling.
Yeah, and from a scientific standpoint, if I change the way I feel, I change the rhythm of my heart, it changed the electromagnetic field. And if the field is the governing agent of the particle then changes. That's who I am, that changes. So, but why we get this anxious stuff is we're always trying to get something done, and there's nothing to get done. We came here to experience life, whether it's digging a ditch, making a great meal, or hiking Mount Everest. But you can do all those things with joy and peace. But if you're trying to get it done so you can cook the meal and then dig the ditch so you can lay in it at the end of the day, it's going to be a hell of a day.
But that's how we all run, right? All right, I just got to get to lunch. Once I get to lunch,
I got to get up this mountain quick because I got to make dinner, and then I got to dig a hole so I could die in it.
Then we get to lunch, and then we're like, what am I going to cook for
constant.
dinner? I can't wait to cook dinner. I got to do this for my kids, and then blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whoa. You didn't just enjoy lunch.
Yeah.
You were just waiting for lunch 2.5, 3 hours ago, and you didn't even get to enjoy what you were waiting for. And now you get to dinner, and now you're just thinking about, I got to, give my dog a bath. I got to do this. I got to go take the trash out. You don't ever enjoy any moment you're actually in.
And based on the society we're living in, as Sadhguru just mentioned in the video a moment ago, is find that silent place just for yourself. Because the world, when you get into it, the world will actually suck you into that idea of trying to get things done. Yeah, on a really good day, I just watch the crazies be crazy, and I find it entertaining. But there's once in a while I get caught up in it. And this is why the practice I use, like, he mentioned, like, and he was talking to his shaman and going to India to do this stuff. But you could just sit on your couch and close your eyes and shut it all out. I like to do this as a daily practice, a couple times a day, at least twice a day. And if I go more than twice a day, it means I needed to. It means like, oh man, the day's getting ahead of me. I just sit down and
one of
close my eyes.
those days.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not a guy that wants to sit around meditate all day, but I don't want to wear my energy out. And when I get caught up in the outside world, in my intellect, I can feel this. Like a lot of times now, I get caught up and I'm like, stop, and that brings me back to the present moment. But sometimes I need to close my eyes, shut out the physical world, and realize the greatest light is within me, not without. And when I close my eyes, it's amazing the energy I feel. I don't envision it. I feel it. It's a different experience. It's a fifth dimensional experience. But then that energy I'm feeling, energy is what? It's information. That information I'm feeling is applying to the moment in which I am right now. And if I actually utilize that and know it's coming, I no longer worry about knowing enough or not knowing enough where to go. I'm like, I'm here. This is all I need to be.
And all that information that you need will appear right when you need it.
And that's what we call synchronicity, Yep. And it really is. And when you trust it, in the interim or gestation period of something happened, you enjoy that moment rather than rushing through it. When it's going to work, it's like, yeah, it's going to work out. If you head into something erratic, it's going to work out erratic. If you head into something calm, it's going to work out calm. We're the ones who create the field of energy. So be careful what energy field you're creating. What kind of heart rhythm are you creating?
There's this awesome quote that I just saw. I'm going to pull it up on my phone. not too long ago, but it was an Egyptian quote. It was nice and simple, but it was one of those ones that was just very powerful because it's something we kind of take for granted, but here it is right here. The body becomes what the foods are, as the spirit becomes what the thoughts are. And very straightforward, but our focus of our thought is what our spirit experiences out here. And we can't make that any more clear to every single one of you at home. What you're thinking about between your ears, what you have playing, whatever your soundtrack is, that is what you're going to experience. I was watching Gaia the other this last week too. Sorry, what's up?
No, so like the whole spirit thing. So we close our eyes to the outside world. There's a natural field. The spirit we said earlier was energy. When we get into that state, the thoughts that come in are appropriate for that state. So when I have negative thoughts, the thoughts aren't creating the state. The thoughts are emulating the state. So when I have a bad thought, I just realize, wow, I slipped into a state that I don't want to be in. So that's when we go back and close our eyes. Again, the field is the governing agent of the particle. So in this case, the thought will be the particle. So keep in mind that the thoughts, if you don't like them, well, that means you slipped into a state that you're not familiar with, want to be in. Go back, get back out of that state, and then whatever state I'm in, those thoughts will follow.
And this goes back to that other saying, which is, you're not manifesting what you want. You're manifesting what you are.
Yes, exactly.
You know, Wayne Dyer says that.
Yeah, what you are, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because that's exactly it.
Yeah.
People say, oh, you know,
so check who you
I've
are.
got my vision board. I've got all this. Why isn't it working? And it's like, because you're still that person of lack.
Yeah.
You know, at your core.
Yeah.
You're saying, I don't have this. I'm looking at this. I want this, not I am this.
And be truthful to yourself, because there are things, I went through this where I try to pretend to myself that I felt abundant or felt this, but I know I didn't. Like when it would come up, I would feel this tightness. And if you're not honest with yourself, you become in trouble. But who
you
cares?
See it out here.
Yeah, if you listen to this and like you don't feel abundant, who cares? Because the truth is you are abundant, but the feeling you're having is one off a definition of what abundance ought to be for you, and that's false.
And this too shall pass.
Yeah. So we realize, redefine what abundance is, and you'll start to feel better. And when I say redefine it for you, don't ask like 10 people, what's your, and then like, it's like, this is what we do.
Not to mention
like,
you're going to get 10 different answers. Yeah. Stop seeking the answer from the outside world.
Yeah, it's within. And everyone is abundant, if you know.
Everyone.
But then when you feel abundance, all of a sudden, the objects of abundance will show up. It actually lets you know the way you're thinking and the way you're feeling is working.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because when you start to experience it is when you know you are it.
Yep.
And that's how you know, I'm watching this all harden into matter.
Yep.
I'm watching this entire experience that I've been curating
now
harden into what everybody else calls reality, you know? So there's this network called Gaia, guys. If you guys haven't taken a look at Gaia or aware of this network, you've got to check it out because it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the spirituality of Netflix.
It's spiritual and science. It's not just...
and science. Yeah, it goes over a bunch of good stuff. You know, history, too.
Although you could say science and spirit now are connected. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was listening to this one guy talk. I can't remember who it was or, you know, the episode. But ultimately what he was talking about was he was saying American Indians... don't talk to themselves in their head. And he goes, people out, you know, around, you know, they talk to themselves in their head all day long. And the things that you talk about in your head are what you experience. And he goes, the American Indian, they do not, they turn it off. And he says, why? He says, the reason they turn off and they don't talk into, you know.
It's a recording you're talking with.
That, well, not only that, but the messages then don't come in from our higher selves.
Yeah.
You know, from our, you know, our eighth chakra or whatever, our higher self, our higher state of being, you know, can't speak to us. And I thought that was so powerful. And it's true. When we're driving in the car, when we're doing anything, when we're most unconscious during our days, which is honestly like 95% of the day, it's just this B-roll of ourselves going back and forth, running around the head, you know, talking to ourselves. I don't like this. I do like this. I am this. I'm not this.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, when we can just...
shut that off,
turn it off,
press stop.
We have this ability. It's just, it's very hard because for the last 10, 15, 25, 35 years, we have been running a soundtrack. And so I just thought that was great. The way he phrased it was, hey, you don't need to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And the less we talk to ourselves, the more we allow the universe, source, infinite intelligence, God, whatever you want to call this, speak to you.
And good techniques is when you find yourself, so like people out there probably like, well, what do I do when I'm in that situation? If you drive in your car, I don't suggest you close your eyes and do breathing techniques. But if you drive in your car, notice the feel of the steering wheel. Notice, the color of the hood of your car, because you're still looking in the direction that's going to keep you safe. Once I notice how the steering wheel feels, I'm engaged with the feeling, the frequency around me. All of a sudden, the thoughts start to slow down. My brainwaves start to slow down. And all of a sudden, from that point, you realize that was ridiculous. Become present. Present is no more than realizing, hey, I have a leather steering wheel. And I can feel my hands, how it reps. My white knuckling and my soft, it doesn't matter, but I'm becoming aware of it. It's still not taking my attention off the road, so I'm not in danger, but that is a form of meditation.
Let me ask you something. So I started doing this just recently. I've been doing it a while, I guess, but it just reminded me when we were talking about the white knuckle. So I like when I get up in the morning, I make myself extremely gentle on myself.
Yeah.
Like the moment I open my eyes, like I very softly kind of lay back and ease into the day. And I'm very gentle. And the word gentle is the best way to describe this. But like I remember, especially when I was asleep, and no idea of these concepts, I would, force myself up and all right, you just got to get going, don't be a bitch, like just keep going, you know what I mean? A very bad self-talk type of stuff, but I was always like,
you're
come
like
on,
your own drill sergeant.
Toughen up, like
get out of bed.
And it was the worst way to live ever.
Well, because the energy, what you're doing is the energy's back. So from a disease standpoint, you were in a high beta?
Oh, it was the worst.
Not good.
And it was like how I started my day,
Yeah.
and now I am so gentle with myself.
Yeah.
And the mornings start, and they flow so well to the afternoon, and the days are, more full of excitement, more cohesive, more, I can feel the difference. And so be gentle on yourselves, guys.
Yeah.
There's no stress or strain that is going to help you.
Yeah.
It's you recognizing the stress and strain and then relaxing.
And as you
and
guys,
surrendering to it.
Yeah, as you guys, we introduced Sadhguru today. As you guys, if you choose to become more familiar with him, he talks about that all the time. It's a lot of what we think we should be doing is made up. Yeah.
Pretty much all of it.
I remember hearing him saying, like, do whatever the hell you want to do. Just do it peacefully. Do it happily, and it'll work out. But people think we have to do it this way. I have to eat this type of food. I have to do that food. I'm like, no, eating food, going to the gym, going for a walk, working, those all are experiences. Do them. But it's how I feel about them that generates abundance or lack. All right? It's how I feel. If I have to do something, it's not going to work to the efficient. But if I don't have to do it, but I choose to do it, it's different. If I come home from work and I'm celebrating with a glass of wine, it's going to have a different effect on my psyche and on my physical body. If I come home from work and have to have a glass of wine to forget the day, it's going to have a detrimental. It isn't the wine. It's my relationship with it. What's your relationship with your life? Look at that. What's your relationship with the world around you? Look at that. And it all is from in. It all starts within. But if I say, in order to have a good relationship with this person, they must do that, I'm like, you're already defeated. Because you can't get anyone. My relationship with myself is my viewpoint. Yeah, the person might do that, but I learn not to get upset at it. They may or may not be in my life for long if they do that, but I don't take it personally. So learn to be kind to yourself like Mike does when he wakes up in the morning. And know that there is no right or wrong thing to do, but it's a feeling that will allow you to do. So when Mike wakes up kind, he can't help to want to get up and talk to people and, get fully invested in what he's doing, whether it's his podcast or his business. But if I get up and have to do stuff, all of a sudden the anxiousness, I'm not going to make it till noon, depending on how much.
I know that feeling so well.
You're not going to make it. It's like, oh my God, now you're at a bar drinking at noon.
And this was common practice in the 50s, and everybody just acted like it was normal.
Yeah, like,
I hear
is it
stories
lunch yet? Is it
about
lunch?
about my
It's
grandparents
such a-
and like my great uncles and like all of them and just oh yeah, they'd get up and start drinking at 9
just to get to work, they needed a drink.
just to get to work, and it's like, oh, that's healthy,
That's
guys.
normal,
That's
yeah.
normal, right?
like,
In this
wow.
conditioned world, but meditation, man, that's
That's
some woo-woo
nutty
shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, we're sitting here poisoning ourselves, killing ourselves.
Yeah.
When the answer is just in front of us, and
within,
because
yeah.
of within.
Yeah.
Better
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Definitely not in front of us. But it's, this is becoming more mainstream, and I love it because there's a lot of conditioning that comes with these concepts that we have grown up with, and that's really what you're getting past.
Yeah, and anyone out there that does have an ailment of some sorts, continue doing what your doctor ordered, but also add in to go within and see what happens. Over time, the doctor will actually take you off the medication. We're not here to, but you have to become familiar with what me and Mike are talking about. We've been doing this for a while. I would never, someone's like, oh, I'm sick. I'm like, don't go to the doctor. Just start meditating. It's like, nah, it's not a healthy formula.
Do it in conjunction with the doctor.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you're going to start to see, oh, wow. It not only is this improving, your doctor will say, hey, this is working way
And now you
more
actually
than I
learn
thought.
to believe it.
Now you're
Wow.
saying, yep, you're looping.
That's
you're
it.
creating a new neural pathway in the mind is what you're doing.
And you have
that
proof.
new neural pathway,
Which
solidifies it.
Yep.
And then you're golden. Then next time, oh wow, I'm gonna do some breath work, on top of whatever medication the doctor recommends.
Yeah, all these everything with Sadhguru for other people are going to feature on here. They all have their own different modalities, but if you listen to the subtlety of what they're talking about, they're all saying the same thing. And what it is, it's possible to be at peace and happy at every moment of life.
In every moment.
Every moment of life, you just have to find that, and the way to find it, you have to go within.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's our shift of perspective. Our perspective shift.
Perspective shift.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us this week as we went over our good friend Sadhguru.
Sadhguru.
And
thumbs up to Sadhguru.
I'm sure we'll do
Love
more
that guy.
episodes on him because he's great.
You can't do enough on him.
Yeah.
We just touched on it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a lot of good points, so
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll see more of his videos come through. If you guys have any questions about what we talked about today, feel free to comment below or subscribe below. Shoot us an email, perspectiveshift2020@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
We love your comments. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.
All right.